Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend DG Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
Hi, this is Dan Jurgens, and you are listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Started as a joke, but as Lilith Hellfire will tell you, an idea bounces around in my head enough, it becomes a reality. That's right, kids. Welcome to the first episode of Electric Mullet, the Superman podcast, covering all, well, we started the 80s, work our way to the 90s, and then we'll see where we go from there. Yes. I am Phil, joining me as will be always. You know this man just like you know probably as well as Lilith Hellfire because he is the twin, Mr. Justin the Owl.
Hello there. How are we?
And a man who you may not know is a fan of Superman, especially if you're watching this on video, Mr. Tyler Patrick.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. I started to grow my mullet, but it grows a little slower these days. You know, I thought I would just do the electric kind of like puff Jimmy Neutron curl.
I was going to say nobody grow a mullet because I'm not electrocuting myself. All right. So yes, Again, this is my favorite era of Superman, so I thought it'd be fun. Just, we're going to go in order. Tonight we're going to start with John Byrne's Man of Steel, and we're going to go in order from here. And, we'll do all the regular Superman issues, and every so often, we might get something of where Superman's in a crossover or something, but
some annuals and
oh yeah.
It'll be fun. It'll be cool. Like time to.
It's going to be great. Yeah.
Crack open the not hard seltzer.
Yeah. You are so not Lilith Hellfire.
Oh no, gotta keep all my faculties.
Yes, yeah, and we'll get to all the big events: Panic in the Sky, Death of Superman, Reign of the Superman.
Yeah.
See, I'm looking forward to just because I've been wanting to do something like this for a while of just straight reading.
Yes.
And so doing this and starting here and just kind of straight reading it because I've read, bits and pieces of here and there. So being able to just kind of go straight from this as a jump on point, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to go back and revisit these too because I have a little book that I have kind of all of the issues, the individual issues that I'm missing written down in, so that when I'm out and about, I don't have my phone or an app or something or data or whatever, I can whip out this little book and be like, okay, I need issue 385 of Action Comics or whatever. But as I was adding the issues to the book, I was thinking, oh man, I want to go back and read these because it's been a good 20, 25 years, I think, since I've read most of this stuff. So I've been hankering for a while, for a few years actually, to go back and revisit this stuff, but do it from the beginning and kind of read it in chronological order instead of bits and pieces at a time.
It's so interesting because Man of Steel I read back in I read this last time I read it was it 2019 or 18? Whenever Bendis was going to launch his Man of Steel, we reread this because we're like, oh, is it going to be some sort of like mirror like this? No, Bendis just used the name, but that was the last time I read this.
Bendis is going to do what Bendis is going to do.
Right.
Damn, what came before? That's Bendis' playbook.
Bendis.
Oh, maybe one day we'll get there. Because like I said, we're going to start here. We'll go in order. I mean, we want to keep going. We're going to keep going. And
now, how about the Elseworld stuff? How do you feel about that?
You know what? I was thinking maybe every 50th episode or so, maybe we'll do like specials, 50, 100, 150, so then we'll pick, maybe something different, maybe Elseworlds or, some kind of specials. So
nice. Yeah, because some of those Elseworlds ones are fantastic.
Oh, Speeding Bullets, DeMatteis. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, there's a ton. Oh, please. Oh, wait a second. I know there's a Batman Predator. Was it Superman Aliens or was
Superman Alien?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think he ever fought the Predator. I don't think there was ever a Superman Predator, unless my memory's deceiving me. But I know that he did fight Alien. Yeah, that was a good one.
I mean, we could even try to figure out some kind of crossover. Get Lilith in here and do. Me and her were talking not too long ago about pulling the trigger on that Superman Spider-Man. The very first Marvel DC crossover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I had a chance to buy that. It was $300.
What?
And I tried to talk my wife into it, and she was about there. Then they sold it before I could get there.
Oh,
good condition. Then I guess it was.
Yeah, it was in good condition.
Yikes!
I was wearing her down. It just sucked because like she was about there, and we were at the shop one day. I was going to show her, because I feel like that'd be the last, like she's, and he had sold it.
Tyler's like, it's for college fund. My grandkids for college fund.
When paper completely disappears and people are like, "What's paper?" and you're like,
"Oh, what's so
right?"
So those kids are getting ready to go to college. Old Paul Patrick will pull out the Superman Spider-Man. Be like, here's your
check it out. You can't touch it, but you can look at it.
Yeah.
Don't ever take it out of the bag once it hits air.
Yes, it's gonna disintegrate.
Slap that thing. But yeah, no, I did in preparation for this. I went out and I was filling in gaps, and there's only a few little gaps now, but I have the majority of like. I don't have the Man of Steel issues, but like starting at what we're gonna do next week through pretty much till today. I
gotta sit down and do that because like I have the 6-piece Man of Steel, but I just pulled it up digitally because I think I'm like missing one of them.
I have it in trade, yeah.
I had a big I don't know if you saw the picture from like last few months back. Long story short. A bunch of my comics got destroyed and shredded. So I've slowly been trying to figure out what all was destroyed, what all I'm missing. Because there's a few things I got to go back and trace through. But like this era, I mostly have read via libraries, the app. I have some stuff. So this whole, especially in the last part of the 80s, I will say, like, I think other than just this Man of Steel miniseries, I think the next thing is just jump to the 90s. And when you start at like Death of Superman and forward, I'm pretty good at, but it's that like from Man of Steel to the Death that I'm really rocky at.
Oh, there's so much. Oh, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Crisis of the Crimson Kryptonite.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Love that one.
They saved Luthor's brain.
the return of Brainiac.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my favorites.
War World.
But
no, I mean, you guys were talking, or I know, Justin, you said you have a little book. Ray got me on this CLZ app.
CLZ, yes.
Yeah, CLZ, yes, as the Australians say, yes. It's only like $1 something a month. Yeah, it's only like $15 a year. And yeah, you can like, if your
put everything on
barcode, you can scan them in and stuff, and it keeps track of them. And
that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, it's easy. It's easy. And now I just get my new books every week. I'm just like scan.
Nice, very nice.
All right. So should we get into this? Because yes, we have 6 issues, and I'm sure it's the beginning. All right. So yes, we're gonna get it. It's a brand new origin. It's first thing post-crisis. So how do you boys feel about some of the changes John Byrne made? Like now, as for the moment, Superman is the sole survivor of Krypton. I mean, even when we get a Supergirl, she's not going to be a Kryptonian, and he was never Superboy, which
I'm okay with that.
The Legion writers loved.
I'm okay with the not being Superboy because I like the idea it makes when he becomes Superman more prominent, and I like the idea of him saving people, and like what I say, kind of doing the Smallville thing,
secret.
I will say one thing that Byrne did that I do not like is I do like there's things in here like that I'm like, okay, you know.
Yeah.
But the one I really don't like is I don't like him being born in the Matrix chamber.
Okay.
And I've told this story before, but like there's a big part of the Superman story that you lose by doing that. And that's the parents actually holding their child and then having to give it up.
Right.
You know, I after Solomon, like the night Solomon was born, I had downloaded on my iPad Man of Steel and Superman the movie. So like he laid on my chest as I watched. I sat there and was up with him all night. And just that opening scene of like, even in either, you know, film of, okay, I'm holding my kid. Now I have to, I've experienced my child, give my child up. I think there's a lot more there, faith in like the parent of risking to save their kid than there is this who's never been born, is not fully formed,
right.
You know, gestating pod in front of me. So
yeah,
that's just
your child's a more abstract concept. Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think is missing, is just the emotional beat. Now, I do understand like with this where this Krypton is, and we'll talk about it in the first issue, but that was always one, because I feel like when you reboot, you got to make changes, you know. But that's one I really am push up against. Some of the other littler stuff, like, you know, Clark kind of being cool, you know, I think, and just very, you know, confident playing football. And I prefer Clark being a little bit more awkward just because he's unsure of himself. Like he doesn't have to be like Chris Reeve style Clark, you know.
Right.
But yeah, you know, this is like that too cool for school almost Clark. So, but that's my kind of pushbacks on this. The biggest things, but there's little things that we'll talk about as we break it down. So.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with really any of the changes. I didn't have much of a frame of reference because I didn't read a lot of Superman before Crisis. I had read some of the team ups, like some of the Batman and Superman stuff that Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan, I think, did in the late 70s, early 80s. I can't remember exactly when, but it wasn't enough to have a lasting impression of what Crisis Superman was. So the changes really didn't bother me that much. And to be honest, I liked the idea of making Superman more unique, of having him be the sole survivor, of having him be the only one. We didn't have Supergirl and Superboy and all the Phantom Zone villains and all that other stuff, like the Bottle City of Kandor and all that. Like we didn't have all these other Kryptonians just pocketed away in these other places. So to me reading it in the 80s, I liked that. It made Superman a lot more unique and singular. So that was cool. But yeah, I agree with Tyler about it's a lot more of an emotionally resonant image too, to show his parents holding the baby and then putting him in the pod. Like that's a more lasting, emotionally resonant image. Rather than just them pressing buttons and be like, okay, he's going to be born in like a little while. We'll just watch our planet blow up. Bye-bye. Yeah.
I mean, this was like, this is like when I first started reading that. I mean, we'll get to this one. I think was an issue 4. I think was the first. I read one of my friend had a copy of Superman Man of, or Man of Steel number 4, and that was like the first time I saw, you know, I read a Superman comic, and then I started like picking it up myself on the monthly, and it was the monthly books, and I was. So yeah, I had when I first started reading, I had no frame of reference for the pre-crisis. So yeah, this was always like my first frame of reference besides the Christopher Reeve movies. So I was just like, okay, yeah.
Nice.
I mean, the whole Krypton thing. Okay. We're gonna get to this, but it just seems kind of almost seems like Jor-El and Laura barely met. You know,
right?
And oh yeah, okay, yes, you gave me some genetic material. Yes, we have a baby growing in there. Yeah.
I find the whole yes, and I'm not opposed to that because I think that helps play into the uniqueness of Superman and the, you know, into the fall of the Kryptonian society. But my thing was like, I didn't need the Kryptonians. Like, I'm okay with it just saying translated from Kryptonian, to kind of like why the vernaculars. I didn't need them to talk like Shakespearean actors. Like,
right.
And like Lara and Jor-El, like you said, they have no connection. And I almost feel like I needed more from Krypton before, because I feel like it's a lot of quick exposition, and I didn't really need Shakespearean Jor-El and Lara. But it's also, I think, just kind of in the nature of the reboot. That's what I keep thinking about is we're going to do this, but we're going to do it different. We're going to make it more unique and more kind of modern. What can we do that's different? And that's sometimes when you get caught up with the reboot mentality of doing something different that feels like it can get to where it's unauthentic to the characters. But yeah, the Krypton, the Kryptonian dialogue, I was like,
I just think Byrne wanted to make them as different from the Kents as possible.
Yes, very cold
the loving couple. Yeah, just that.
Very unpassionate. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, some of just the dialogue kills me though. Like when, and like some of it when Jor-El's talking about Earth and like he dials it into Kansas. Like,
yeah, he shows them working in the fields, and then she starts screaming, "Oh my god!"
That bare-chested farmer. She has like the opposite reaction that Justin would have. She's like, "Oh my god!"
Exactly.
She's like, they bare their skins to the elements or something like that, and
I'd be like, "Oh no, zoom in on that! Come on, my favorite."
I just had a humorous laugh to like the fact that he's like, a place called Kansas, like. Not even that we're just, we're shooting him off to Earth, hoping that he makes it. We've dialed it down to the exact state and spot.
I know. That made me laugh too. Yeah. That's some accurate technology, Krypton. Yeah, you couldn't save your planet, but you can get those coordinates down to the dot.
All right, here. Let me read the synopsis for the first one, and then we'll break down everything for the first one. All right, so Man of Steel #1, October 1986, from Out the Green Dawn, writer and penciler John Byrne, inker Dick Giordano, colorist Tom Zayuko, letterer, of course, our old buddy John Costanza. His name, editor Andrew Helfer. Yeah, you see Costanza's name on all kinds of stuff in the 80s and 90s. On the planet Krypton, or as Brando calls it, Krypton, scientist Jor-El returns home to inform his wife Lara that their world is doomed. A geological chain reaction has fused the planet's core elements into a new radioactive compound. This new compound is destroying their world, and they only have hours left to live. Jor-El tells Lara that he has devised a way for their son, Kal-El, to escape Krypton's destruction. The rocket has been programmed to land on Earth, a planet not too different from ancient Krypton, where due to the yellow sun, Kal-El will have vastly increased physical abilities. He places him inside of a specially designed birthing matrix equipped with hyperdrive capabilities. As Krypton explodes, the gestation chamber launches itself into hyperspace. Its destination, Earth. And again, I'm thinking too, it's 1986. Did they did they have it where he's born when he hits Earth? Because they're just like, oh yeah, Superman's no illegal alien. He's a
and he's American.
Yeah, and because he even says something about being American.
Dude, there's like 3 or 4 lines about, I was raised American, or it's the American thing, or like, I mean, they push the American of Superman in this.
Very heavy on this. I had forgotten about that until I reread it.
And I think Byrne was really for, hey, Superman's basically this human guy, except for this weird quirk of genetics.
I mean, it's a way of like having him born on Earth makes him a citizen of Earth. It makes him kind of an American citizen because he was technically born in the country.
Yes.
And it's a way of also delaying powers. Like, I've never really been a fan of like. There's always that issue in any medium with Superman and Kryptonians where you have them show up and they slowly get their powers, or all of a sudden they just like the sun hits them and then they have everything and they know what to do. And I think it was a way of like slowly letting him grow and develop powers. Which I just think no matter if he was born here or whatever, that's how I prefer it to go. But once again, it goes back to like the whole reboot thing. Hey, we've done this before in the past. This was his origin. What if we do it this way now?
Right. Exactly.
All right. Chapter 1, The Secret. Years later in Smallville, teenager Clark Kent single-handedly wins the high school football championship for Smallville High. As the crowd carries him off on their shoulders, his father, Jonathan Kent, approaches and beckons him away. He drives Clark back to the Kent family farm and warns him about showy displays of his powers. As they return home, Jonathan takes him to an abandoned section of field where he reveals the buried remains of the Kryptonian birthing matrix Clark landed in. Jonathan explains how his wife Martha and he found the birthing matrix in their field 18 years ago and had been concealing it ever since. Dealing with not only being an alien but also being adopted, Clark determines that his days of irresponsible usage of his abilities must come to an end. He decides to leave Smallville in search of places where he can do greater good. Chapter 2, The Exposure. At the 250th anniversary celebration of Metropolis, where Clark Kent has been making his home for the past several years, a special NASA shuttlecraft named the Constitution prepares to land at Metropolis International Airport. Suddenly, a passenger plane enters the no-fly zone and collides with the Constitution. The shuttle goes into a tailspin and begins to falter. From the assembled crowd below, Clark Kent realizes he has no choice but to save the people on board, even if it means revealing himself to the world. He flies upward and saves the shuttle. One of the passengers is Daily Planet reporter Lois Lane. An interaction almost occurs between the two as she's about to begin asking him questions, but they are swarmed by a crowded mob, which Superman flies away from and escapes. He returns to Smallville and confides in his parents, upset that despite his desires for secrecy, he was treated terribly like any commercial celebrity. Epilogue, the superhero. Jonathan concocts a way that Clark can continue to publicly use his abilities while simultaneously concealing his true identity. Martha Kent sews together a colorful, symbolic uniform for Clark to wear using a gigantic S logo created by Clark and Jonathan. Although it is created with normal cloth, Martha long ago noticed that any fabric pressed right up against him never tears away, although this will not protect his cape. Clark reinvents himself as Clark Kent into a humbler and meeker public identity with which to disguise himself so he can lead a normal life. When it's finished, he dons his costume for the first time, becoming Superman in a splash page that's still iconic to this day.
Yes, it is.
Yes, I love that one.
Yeah. All right. Thoughts on issue 1, which we've already been doing.
I mean, okay, like some of like, first of all, anyone else notice the championship games during broad daylight?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
That's unusual.
The only football games I've ever been to that were in daylight were like freshman or JV on Saturdays. That always made me laugh. The fact that it's the final game and Jonathan's just now like confronting Clark about his power usage for football. Okay.
Yeah, he let that go a while, didn't he?
You know, the fact that Clark, not only like I'm adopted and I'm an alien, like, because you know this is the time they use the storm and pretend like he's just their child. Which
because of the big blizzard. I love it. Like, yeah, we didn't get to town for like 5 months.
I'm like, okay, I'll roll with it. You know, sure,
yeah,
okay. But Clark
Kansas.
never. You know, I'm adopted. Okay. Didn't know that. Learns that, and he's an alien the same day. But then, like, so this is what his senior year, fall. He just decides to just quit school and wander. Like he leaves that night. Like, I must not use my powers. I'm gonna just
And I love how this comes as like a shock because didn't it at the one point, is it this just you? Because I read these back to back, but I'm like, weren't they like, oh yeah, and then one day he discovered he could fly. I'm like, shouldn't that have been a big that something was up? Okay, maybe,
Mom, Dad, can you fly?
But something was up, yeah.
Mom, Dad, can you guys fly?
Yeah.
Can you guys see through walls too? Because I can.
What side of the family does that come from?
Yeah.
I mean, it talks about, you know, Clark getting trampled by the bull, and Jonathan was fine.
Yeah.
And then so I feel like
lifting up the bus and all that. Yeah.
Because when it shows he can fly, he looks like he's not much younger than where he is at the start here.
Yeah.
I think that's when you have the conversation. Like, son,
yeah.
Now that you're defying gravity.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it. They all knew it, so it's like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm super critical of things, but I am just like
no, I know. I mean,
things in the story that make me just kind of like okay, and
because I was about to say, I'm like, yeah, maybe Jonathan was just like playing it like, oh yeah, maybe Clark's just good at football. I don't have to worry about anything. But yeah, if he's flown before, maybe you're like, okay, maybe something's going on here.
Yeah. I don't know. I always believed that Clark should have known deep down that they weren't his real parents because they are so much older. But both of the versions, they look so much older in this comic, and he should have been like, yeah. They're old enough to be my grandparents, not my real parents. Yeah.
Or just like, they don't look like me.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
There's eventually that point where you're like,
yeah.
I don't see the family resemblance.
Yeah. Some things are not adding up
he
here.
Towers over both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. It still happens.
Well, yeah.
In real life, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most powerful part in this issue was the scene when he's sitting in the dark and Jonathan goes up and he goes, they all wanted a piece of me, Pa. They all wanted a piece of me. I just love that part. The first time I read that, I was like, holy hell, that's good. Yeah.
And just, what's the line about? Hold on. I'm trying to think I'm trying to find the line. Something about they took apart everything you taught me and something like that. Basically, like just how they were like wanting him to, he said like promote, sell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was all demands. Everybody had something they wanted me to do, to say, to sell.
I always think it's just so interesting how he's right next to Lois and he's just wearing like pants and a jacket.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's something about the costume that just kind of helps the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Like your attention. But it helps dial you in that he's a person when he's just wearing like a pants and a jacket.
Right.
But then you have the it's so interesting just the whole presence of he is basically Superman, and then they have to create what the Clark look will be. I mean, he's got the curl and everything just as Clark here, and then
slicking his hair back.
Slicker back hair. Like,
yeah.
You gotta like the real it feels like it's somebody trying to force slang. Like, it's always bothered. I don't know why, but it's like this slicker back hair and a pair of my old spectacles. Like not glasses. He wears spectacles.
Spectacles, yeah.
But I don't know, because I always thought of, because I feel like this, when he has his hair back like it is, I immediately think of George Reeve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. It's
I always like the idea of Clark with like the messy hair, and then like he combs it and fixes it, and there's Superman. But this is like straight back.
Yeah.
Clark. Put a little puff and a curl. Superman.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that was an homage, like the Clark that they came up with was like an homage to George Reeves, and then the Superman was Christopher Reeves.
Like a combination of the two.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't. It is more of like just an S here, because they've already called him like a Superman, and so they made one for the front and for the back. But
yes, they just put the yellow one on the cape. Yeah. And again, I mean, I forget when they reveal it, but the whole thing with the costume, it's like at this point they say like he has like a kind of like almost like really thin aura around his body
Yep.
that kind of protects clothes that are tight up against his body. That's why it'll protect the suit and not the cape. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like a paper thin force field kind of.
His boots got a little bit of a swashbuckler look to him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, this is just a beautiful one shot at the end of this right here. It'll be a job for Superman.
Oh,
yeah.
That still just looks amazing.
It really does. Yeah. Yeah. Almost 40 years later, it still looks.
Oh yeah, you see
really
that.
good.
You still see that thing around. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of the classic Superman images.
Yeah, especially if they're talking about like this era. Oh yeah, that image always comes up.
Yeah, that one and the one at the end of book 6, like you're talking about, where he's
him standing in the field there. Yeah,
yeah, talking about
being American. Yeah,
being American.
All right. Should we get to issue 2 and the and the woman we were just speaking of? All right.
What?
No. The Man
Mom's awesome.
The Man of Steel #2, October 1986. The story of the century. Same team. As a shorter synopsis. Daily Planet editor-in-chief Perry White assigns Lois Lane to get an interview with Superman. Meanwhile, Superman is all over Metropolis, rescuing citizens and foiling bank robberies. After a series of failed attempts to interview Superman, Lois decides to take a gamble and plunges her car into the harbor. Superman arrives and takes her home. She finally has the scoop on Superman, only to find out she was beaten to the headline by the new reporter, Clark Kent.
Can I just say, the first time I've read this, I always got confused because it says book 2, but there's so many time jumps in between each book.
Oh yeah,
and there's so much story. I'm like, is there like, do you read book 1 and then there's like some tie-in issues, or then 2? Like, I always felt like it was weird because this is supposed to be a 6-issue miniseries that's like the retelling of the origin, but it's like just the highlight points.
Oh yeah,
it's not a full story, and that's what threw me the first time I read it. And even reading it, this time I'm still like, does that work? Does that work for you guys, or is it frustrating to you? Like,
it's still a little weird actually when I reread it. Yeah, and the issues with Lex and seeing him with hair and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, this is like over a certain period of time.
I mean, I appreciate stuff like this because they were trying to give you an origin. Because like New 52, they kind of just like jump in to everything.
Right.
Here, they try to give you like an origin. Since they did reboot like Superman and Wonder Woman and stuff. So I do appreciate. And again, they took 6 issues. They're like, okay, we're gonna give you like a real quick, recap, and then we're gonna jump into the present day.
Yeah, like a highlight reel.
Yeah, because I mean, there is like what
I mean, pretty much Superman, Lois, Lex. We know these characters, but it's like, okay, well, here's how the post-crisis history differs from what came before.
Yeah, here's how they are in 1986.
Yeah, Lex is now a corrupt businessman.
Right.
I just feel like there's so much more that can have been fleshed out. Like, because I like the story, I like the story and what you get, but like, is it this book? Is it?
Well, I think they
say like one of these books is either one with the Lex or the one with Lana. At the end was like 5 years. Like, there's a line like Lois throws out like, it's when Lois later talks about trying to kiss Superman for 5 years. It's in the Bizarro issue.
Oh yeah. Or even the issue 4 when on the Lex's yacht, she's he's like, you're gonna hold that Superman, me getting the Superman scoop, and it's like been like 18 months or so. It's been like at least a year and a half from like the end of 2 to issue 4.
Yeah. It's still a little jarring to me reading it again to have all that time jump. Yeah.
Oh yeah, then we get the faintest hint of Lex in this issue. He's like, his driver's like, Lois, he wants to talk to you. He's leaving the country for a year. She's like, that's all right.
He's giving her the stink eye out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nobody turns down Lex.
Yeah, it's just so funny, this hostage situation, when these guys, the first time, no one knows who Superman is, so it's just like, shoot him. Then, of course that doesn't work. Then he like heat visions the guns out of their hands and stuff, and then
don't forget about when he stops the purse snatcher. Like, just drops down, and then the guy tries to run. And then he tells the lady to basically turn the music down. I'm like,
oh yeah, you know what? Turning the music down, and then when he just like flies straight up and goes bye now. That's so Christopher Reeve.
Totally. I heard his voice when I read that. I was like, yeah.
Especially the bye now. I heard Christopher Reeve's voice.
Yeah.
He's just like bye now.
And I love how he doesn't ask her to turn the volume down. He just does it himself. I'll just do that.
Well, she's in shock. So.
I do love just the people shooting him, like, and then especially how he like flicks the lady to take the dynamite.
Oh yeah, gives her the finger.
Yeah. I don't hit ladies.
Yeah, and Lois is just I think my favorite part in this is all the times that Lois is tracking down the story, and it's just the montage. Yeah, of he was just here, you just missed him, but and then she's just angry.
Yeah,
but like you said, there's a lot less dialogue in this issue. I noticed, like this. The first issue is very like a lot of exposition dialogue, but this one, it's a lot of just more of the artwork doing the story for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't want Shakespeare dialogue, Tyler.
I don't need my Kryptonians talking like they're Shakespearean.
I love Jimmy. It's like, oh, it's all you can be on the spot before he shows up, and it was like, can't I?
That's when she runs her car, and then
takes
him back to her place, tries to seduce him with some cheese and crackers.
No, that was absolutely psychotic. Her driving her car into the river and hoping that he would rescue her. That's absolutely psychotic.
It would be funnier.
It says at the end, he's like, what if I'd been on the other side of the planet?
Right.
Even he doesn't know like the range of his hearing yet. He's like, what if I had not heard her?
Yeah.
He says,
quite a gamble.
I'll have to figure that out later. And he's like, that aqua lung she has wouldn't last.
Yes.
But this amount of time. And
yeah, that was quite a gamble she took. It's a little psychotic.
Well, an unknown quantity because she really doesn't know who he is yet.
Right.
She's hanging out in a robe and a towel. Like, give me your story.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
she was soaking wet from the river. Yeah.
And some of her outfits in this issue, like at the end when she goes into Perry's outfit and she's all screaming mad, she's got some weird frilly collar thing with big puffy sleeves, like a pirate shirt. I'm like, what is going on?
It's so
80s wardrobe.
It's so 80s. Well, just that montage, like Tyler was talking about, when she all those outfits. Sometimes I look at some stuff like this, especially from like this era. I'm like, oh, that's men trying to draw women's wardrobes and stuff.
Totally. Yeah, they've got a magazine with women's fashion. They're drawn from it. Yeah.
I do think it's extremely weird on this though. Like on the app, how you get to like the last page, and it doesn't have like a page that tells you the last page. You're just on a page, you hit next, and all of a sudden it's like boop, next issue.
That's it. Yeah.
Like Lois Lane, me, Clark Kent, boom, done.
Yeah.
He's sitting there typing in his blue suit.
Which there's not much for cliffhanger endings in this series. Yeah.
Oh, and I think he's only in one panel, but a figure that will reoccur going forward here for at least the next couple years of comics. I believe that's Elroy, the cat, Lois's cat, who will reoccur. So.
Oh, Elroy, yeah.
Yeah, especially when we get closer to like Death of Superman and stuff. Yes. I was gonna say I don't know if he shows up for a while. So, all right. So yeah, any other thoughts on issue 2 here?
No,
like I said,
I think it's my least favorite of these.
It's your least favorite?
Yeah, I think so. It's just I couldn't get into it really. Yeah.
There's not as much as like the rest of the issues. Like Tyler was
not
a lot of dialogue much
pretty
dialogue
light
and stuff.
Well, I mean, look where it ends. It ends on Lois Lane meet Clark Kent. You don't actually see them interact for the first time.
Right.
And then it's like him typing, she sees him next issue.
That's it. Yeah. It's a little weird, yeah.
I just wondered in the original issue they might have had. I wonder if there was like a letters page or something that said, next issue, maybe kind of here's what's coming up next and stuff. But they just didn't put that on the app
with a preview of the cover and all that. Yeah,
probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, are we ready for issue 3?
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right, you knew it was coming, kids. Yes, featuring the first meeting of the first post-crisis meeting of Superman and a gent we like to call
Batman, my favorite character.
I'm waiting to do that. All right, Superman or the Man of Steel #3, November 1986. I keep wanting to say Superman, the Man of Steel. It's just the Man of Steel. One night in Gotham City. Hey, once spent a week in Gotham one night. Yep, same team. Superman and Batman meet each other for the first time. Batman is on the trail of the criminal known as a Magpie. He is interrupted in a lead by Superman, who regards him as an outlaw. Rather than risk capture, Batman informs Superman that should the latter attempt to come near him, a signal will be activated that will trigger a bomb and kill an innocent person somewhere in Gotham City. The two are forced to work together and eventually capture Magpie. Afterwards, Batman reveals to Superman that the endangered person is himself. The bomb was in his utility belt all the time. Superman departs, cautioning Batman against crossing any further lines. Batman admits to himself a respect for Superman's innate goodness and wonders if, in a different reality, they could have been friends.
Why couldn't they be friends now? Like, it's just one of those things you're just like...
Well, man calls you outlaw, and he's still like, I'm going to keep my eye on you. I don't know if you're going to be friends right away. But leave it to a 1%er to think he's an innocent person.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
First page, no dialogue.
Yeah. Well, Batman's a man of few words. Oh, wait, there's dialogue, isn't there? Not mine. Oh, yeah, okay. No, there.
Nope.
That page.
Just,
okay.
It says book 3, Superman.
Oh yeah, because he's chasing down Bull.
Bull looks like he's got some cauliflower ear going on.
A little bit.
Yeah, he's probably been beaten, maybe by Batman before.
Yeah, or Magpie. Yeah.
There's garbage in Batman's face.
I do like the fact that like Batman shoots this grappler up, and he's like, "Wait, what am I connected to?" And
well, first he's connected like that gargoyle or whatever, and then he's like, "Wait, something's on my line." No, I just love the whole, when Batman lets go and Superman's like, "Where'd he go?" He's like, "Wait a minute, I can't find." He's like, nobody's. Reports say he has no powers. He can't like super speed or turn invisible, and Batman visibility is a relative thing.
I just think it's interesting how Superman's like, "I'm gonna take you to the police." Like, well, like I don't know. Like, did you not like observe him for a while, see what he's doing? Like, because he even says like people have called me vigilante and stuff. So
yeah,
where are you drawing this line, Superman?
Yeah,
like that's the Superman that I don't always like when they make him too much of like
too pious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that, and two, I mean, it's been a whole thing, especially since the Dark Knight, where again Frank Miller doesn't get Superman. And it's
right. Yeah.
We kind of have to turn the dial up on Superman, just the contrast against Batman and like the modern times.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they've been tempering that lately, but. Oh, wait a minute. Frank Miller. I said the magic word.
Your mother's a whore.
That Frank Miller.
I was waiting for it.
You wouldn't quite understand Batman's invisible shield that he has going on.
Yeah, it's like a kind of force field, but I guess it doesn't deflect anything. But if anything crosses that path, it's going to set off that bomb.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Which I guess he was telling the truth, because Superman was even like, I guess he must have listened to his heartbeat or whatever. He's like, he knows he's telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more dialogue in this, issue and setup, which I think is interesting. I think it's interesting the villain is Magpie.
Yeah.
But I think there's a good reason for that. As the issue goes, and we get, to the end. I mean, but hold on. First, can we just say, like, she just straight up like blows Bull's head off?
Oh yeah, she puts a stick of dynamite in his mouth.
Yeah, like a Looney Tunes or that's something like the Joker would do. Yeah, stick some dynamite in his mouth and light the fuse. Yeah.
You see his legs with some blood spatter.
Yeah.
This magpie costume is ridiculously 80s.
It really is. The hair, yeah.
Like she didn't make many appearances. Like she was here, and then she shows up in Batman 401, which is like a Legends crossover. And then I don't think she shows up again until like it's like 2006, and like during like 1 year later, like someone's knocking off villains. They're like, yeah, Magpie's dead.
Yeah, she's definitely not one.
Yeah.
Because what I think is interesting, and we'll get there at the end, but like, you know, and basically he's talking to him about the criminals in Gotham when they figure out who she is, and Batman breaks it down about her psychoses and how, for the most part, she's like she wants the pretty things and how she, and Superman's trying to figure out who she is. And where's the line?
It's so weird because at first it seems like almost like Batman's feeling pity for her, but then at the end he's like, yeah, hopefully they keep her that garbage locked up in Arkham, or it's like,
yeah, because it's this line right here. Hold on, she's not a real criminal, not like the kind. So it's like he starts to say like how she's like this different kind of criminal. She's not, and it's almost like I would believe that had she not just killed Bull a few pages back.
Right, exactly. She just murdered that guy.
Yeah. If it had been something where she has a psychosis compulsion to steal and the split personality thing, and he's trying to show him like who she is, it kind of makes a nice juxtaposition of why this is the character that we use to introduce these two characters together. Just so you're not just seeing Batman beat up on people, and you're not seeing like someone like the Joker or something. But the fact that she blew up Bull just kind of, I feel like, cuts what they're trying to say here at the end.
Exactly. Yeah. If she had just been a thief that was just obsessed with pretty things or ancient things or rare things or whatever, then that would be different. Like a different spin on Catwoman. Somebody that was just obsessed with stealing stuff.
Yeah.
But she's a murderer. She killed that dude. And I think it was alluded to that she'd killed some other people too, or at the very least did some horrible things to them.
I think it's the psychoses that really kind of just really hits home some things in this book for Superman. It is an interesting, very small kind of adventure for them to first meet.
Stakes were very low.
Maybe just to give them room to like debate and argue and stuff.
Which works.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the small stakes for a first meeting of characters works because it gives you time to work with the characters to where they're not just like automatically accepting, oh, the world's going to end if we don't work together.
Right.
That's one of those things that of course you're going to work together.
Yeah.
But when it's something so small that just Batman on his own can handle, it forces them to kind of talk to each other and build that bond.
Yeah, because I mean, it is kind of overkill for Superman to like being in on this too. It's just it's Magpie, but I think Byrne created a character just so it's like, oh well, Batman wasn't there when Superman met one of his classic rogues and vice versa. It couldn't be the Joker or anybody. It had to be a new character, and we know, especially from the Marvel side, Byrne likes to draw his women in skimpy outfits. So
yes, the fishnets,
or leather, yes,
and high-heeled boots always.
Yes. Now, let's not sound like we're speaking with any malice in our hearts, Justin.
Oh, pierce the thought.
Because maybe in another reality, we could have called you friend.
In another reality. What?
In another reality.
That's just such a weird, like, I don't know. People say like the expression like in another life. So I guess in another reality is not too far out there,
In another reality, perhaps we could have been friends if you had not been a dick to me tonight.
Yeah, I mean, sounds about right.
Oh, look, I tried to swipe to the next issue. Oh, look, up next, Superman, the Man of Steel, Volume 4.
Yeah. They want you to buy that collection.
You know what I did? Is I just cooked the tab when I went to Man of Steel and I copied it 6 times, so each one's one issue.
Nice.
So I can just like go over here and like pop up my issue 4 tab. Because I was like, this is gonna upset me the whole time we try to do this. It's like, yes, take me to the middle of the story so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Even though this mini series is pretty much self-contained like stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. That's the nice thing. It's like you could read any issue and get pretty much a self-contained story, which I can attest to. Because again, the next issue is the first one I read, ever. So.
Oh yeah.
For Enemy Mine.
Yes, the Man of Steel volume 1, number 4, November 1986. Enemy Mine, same team. Lois and Clark are guests at a party to be held on Luthor's luxury liner. Say that 3 times fast. Upon arriving, they are entertained by Luthor in his private chamber on the ship. When Luthor insinuates his desire of Lois, the latter is offended, having some knowledge of Luthor's past. Lois refuses to be one of Luthor's trophy wives and decides to leave the ship. She and Clark are then confronted by South American terrorists who promptly throw Clark overboard. As the terrorists are trying to cordon the hostages, Clark changes to Superman and lifts the liner ship, which surprises everyone on board. This opens an opportunity for Lois to seize control and knock out the terrorists. Luthor then reveals that he allowed the terrorists to get on board just so he could coax Superman to come and include him on his payroll. Superman refuses Luthor's offer and is deputized by Mayor Frank Berkowitz to arrest him. A few days later, Luthor confronts Superman and warns him of a day of reckoning. So what year was this? Yeah, 1986. So yes, the first issue. Yes, I'm 8 years old. I'm reading my friend's copy, and all of a sudden I see Lois taking this dress off. I'm like, whoa, what?
Phil's like, Phil just tells himself, always have a jacket on.
You know what?
Always be ready with a jacket.
I think this set the course of my life in many ways, comics and others. I discovered women. I was like, whoa, what?
He's like, I'm a Superman fan for life.
Broad shoulders, come on. Yeah.
Like, this all makes sense now.
I was going to say, I mean, you think that's an impressive feat? Lois taking out this terrorist. She was doing it half naked. She was pretty much just wearing Clark Kent's jacket.
My favorite part of this issue is actually when she's got the machine gun out.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. And part of that to me is like an homage to one of my favorite episodes of the old, I think it was in the 30s, the old Superman cartoon from the 30s. There's one of those episodes where there was a train that was getting hijacked and Lois was somehow on it. And I don't know how, it's been a year since I've watched it, but somehow she got her hands on a Tommy gun. And Lois Lane started shooting this Tommy gun out the window of this train at the robbers, and I just loved it. I was like, that is fantastic. I love this. So when I first read this, I was like, oh, look, she's got a machine gun. It's like the Tommy gun thing. I started laughing.
That's awesome.
And again, I mean, another point that's been discussed to this day is we finally find out how Superman shaves.
Yeah.
Yes.
My favorite part is the fact that he has a razor.
Oh, yeah.
He turns on.
Yeah. Lois is in the other room. He's like, yep, that'll make the noise that she expects. And
I'll just use my heat vision on his piece of glass. And then she's lifting his weights. And the fact that he has to say, like, oh, I never thought about these weights aren't heavy enough.
Well, he's like, he's like, I can't tell, something like this. I can't tell. Again, he's lifting ocean liners. He's like, yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah.
If that barbell's heavy or not for a normal person.
I'm just like, dude, just say you belong to a gym. Like,
yeah.
You don't have to like keep a whole gym in your apartment, but sure, okay, cool. I'll go with you.
Yeah.
All right. But they have a helicopter on the roof.
Oh yeah, Lex sends a helicopter, and Clark's like, I don't think this is legal. And Lois like, well, Lex Luthor doesn't worry about legal.
I don't think it's structurally sound to support the weight. He's like, so like, good job, Clark.
I like how we had some extra dialogue in this issue. It was kind of light on the action, but more heavy on the dialogue. I thought that was
well.
Nice.
I mean, it's your intro to Lex. So I do think it's interesting that this is the rebranded Lex, the businessman Lex, and he's shows up with the red hair, going bald, but he's still robust.
Oh yeah, but even in these issues, by 6, he has less. You see that hair start going, and then once we get to the current day, it's gone.
Yeah,
I just think it's interesting. Like, this is when, he's thicker. He's got that heavier, thicker. Which was a trademark of more of the older style Lex. Which makes me, because I always think about all this when they rebooted Lex, made him the businessman, but then I was like, but when does he show up more of like bald, physically fit? The Lex that we kind of all think about. So
it all starts with Lex Luthor II.
Alexander Luthor?
His son, his long-lost son.
Yeah,
it'll be a while before we get to that, though.
Right? Oh yeah, he got to die first.
Yeah,
I love how angry Lois is when she realizes it's a gift. Not that she's borrowing it for one night; that he was giving it to her as a gift.
Yeah,
she is pissed.
Oh yeah, I think. I mean, she doesn't say it, but I think she sees it as like a payoff. It's like, I need to tell a story. Hey, remember the time I bought you that more expensive dress?
He tells her, I can make you the happiest woman. And he is, not happy. And then
that's funny. She's just standing there yelling at him, just wearing that suit jacket.
Then the terrorists show up. I do think it's still I think it's interesting that like Superman, Clark gets, uses getting thrown overboard as his way to turn into Superman and all that. But how he just like, instead of immediately, jumping into action, he lifts the boat up, flies it to the harbor, and puts it down. What?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, he doesn't take it back to the Metropolis. He takes it to their destination where they were going, Luthor's Island. So I'm just like, okay, why?
Why?
Would you head to Metropolis where there's probably cops and
Yeah.
Or or just put it on land somewhere if you're gonna lift it up. But my thought is, he does that when he puts it down. He jumps on board. It's just like a perfect setup for like a Robot Chicken sketch. Like he jumps on board and like terrorists have killed everybody.
Yeah.
Like everybody is dead while he was lifting it up, just I mean, I thought at first when I was reading this, like there'll be some sort of dialogue about they were in international water, so he put it like in a location like back at Metropolis, so that they're under the jurisdiction and everything. But I guess not. But it is weird because the mayor, like, at the end, the mayor like
deputizes Superman.
Yeah, and tells him to make an arrest. I'm like, technically, Mayor, you could arrest him as a citizen's arrest. Like, you didn't have to, like, Superman, do your duty.
Do your duty.
But I think it was a bit symbolic too, because it's like, Lex, his security. Nobody's stopping Superman, says, but it's like
that's true too. Yeah.
And just Superman's reaction though is great in this, and I love it of the fact of seeing Lex, how he is, the fact that he risked putting those people in jeopardy to see Superman in action to save people, all the people's lives that he put in danger. And Lex is just so coy about everything. Like,
All right. I have a couple points here. One, the dude was lifting an ocean liner. You gave him a check for $25,000. That's it.
Well, did you do the conversion?
Oh yeah, money. It's probably like $1 million, 1.5 million.
That's true. Yeah.
And two, I mean, I appreciate how much of a badass Lois is, but I think she had somewhat of an advantage because all the male terrorists were probably like, "Is she naked under there?"
Yeah, they're all too busy debating it. Like
they were distracted.
And two, I find it kind of sad that Abraham Lincoln gets reincarnated as a terrorist.
Oh yes, that's true.
So that would be $69,596
for lifting an ocean liner, man.
And he says it's on retainer. I'd be like,
wow.
Like, again, knock that up, put another zero. And we might talk.
It's not a current thing. Rich people were still trying to underpay the help even back then.
Even the super powered help.
Seriously.
Yeah. My favorite part in this issue was the wordless little sequence where you see Lex getting arraigned and all that stuff and going through all that. And there's no dialogue at all, but you can see on his face just he is the most pissed that he's ever been in his adult life.
Well, I mean, look at the way they draw him. Like every time he has his eyes kind of open,
Mm-hmm.
and then you look at the last panel before that, his eyes are getting darker and more closed. And then when you get to the next one, like his eyes are not open.
Yeah.
I just like that the Superman helped a pregnant lady, and she named her child.
Or the middle name Superman.
Yeah. He's like, she wanted to name it after me. And I'm just glad he settled on Superman for the middle name and not the first name.
Yeah. Wait. I love this sequence. You know, when the last terrorist is going to shoot Lois, and he swoops in, and then he just starts like grabs the guy's gun and starts crushing it slowly. And he tells the guy, he's like, "I'd let go now if I were you."
It could be very bad for you.
But yeah, so here I guess this is the point where Superman's better than Batman because he gets deputized.
Yeah.
Although pre-crisis Batman was, I think, deputized, but
he was.
Yeah.
During that whole Comics Code thing, where
he
worked with the law.
Oh yeah, especially late 60s. They're around that TV show.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, maybe the original issue was different, but like you said, at the end of issue 2, we had this the end or anything. You just see Lex threatening Superman in that last panel.
Yeah, you're a dead man, and then that's it.
He's like, "Oh, okay."
I love it.
I know, it'd be funny. Oh, I'm shaking.
Sarcastic Superman would be the best.
It would be.
See Lex there saying, "You're not Superman. You're a dick, man."
That should be an Elseworlds issue.
Oh, yeah.
Sarcastic Superman. Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to see a thing where like Superman goes into a party with a bunch of drunk people, and like he just pulls out a gun and shoots himself and like falls back, and they're freaking out. And then he just stands up like "ta-da!" and they're like, "Hey!" Well, no, he just messes with people constantly like that.
You know what? I want to see. That meme keeps floating around the internet where someone put up. They said, "I want a movie where like the CIA just like keeps trying to kill Clark Kent, not because they know he's Superman, just because of some story he wrote, but but he keeps surviving, and the CIA is just flabbergasted because they don't know he's Superman, so they're just like, why can't we kill this guy? How does he keep surviving?" I want to see that.
He's just a reporter for the Daily Planet. He's indestructible. I love it.
How do you get out of that car? We blew it up. All right, we ready for issue 5?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I love this cover because on the other ones, everyone's facing out, and on this one, Bizarro's facing away.
Yeah.
Backwards, if you will. The Man of Steel number 5, December 1986. The mirror cracked. Same creative team. Superman apprehends a thug wearing a LexCorp designed super battle suit. I love that first page because it looks like, him holding up pre-crisis Lex for a second.
The classic armor. Yeah.
He flies the goon to LexCorp's Hong Kong branch office and presents him to Lex Luthor. Luthor claims that the suit was stolen from him, and he bears no responsibility for any attacks made against Superman's person by whoever was wearing it at the time. And a side effect of the suit's use renders the user too brain damaged to testify to the contrary.
How convenient.
Well, yes. Mm-hmm. So this was the 80s version of reality TV.
Mind rot.
Still carrying the. We're in for a reality show apocalypse next year, kids. Because like Lil saying, because of that writer's strike, man, it's gonna be reruns.
Oh god!
I just say this is the time to catch up on all that stuff that you just saved. Like, exactly. I wanted to watch this show, or I wanted to watch. That's what's
now is the time. Now is the time.
Oh, since we did mention him not too long ago, Justin, I just saw an article today on I think it's starting this Saturday on Ryan Reynolds must have Maximum Effort channel. It's like on some of these streamers and stuff. He's going to be. I guess they're putting up the original Elf TV show.
Oh,
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I guess they're gonna have like not new episodes, but just like new shorts or whatever. But yeah,
Okay.
I guess they're gonna. I guess they read the writing on the wall and they're gonna put up every episode of that old Elf TV show.
I love it.
Still not as great as the Evolutionary War, but all right. Two brain. Still carrying the goons, Superman flies back to Metropolis. Lex, meanwhile, consults with one of his scientists, Dr. Cheng, who is overseeing a classified program known as Project Changeling. By scanning Superman's DNA, Cheng hopes to construct a perfect clone duplicate of the Man of Steel, one that would be completely subservient to Lex Luthor. However, Cheng does not take Superman's alien biology into account, and the Superman clone crystallizes, transforming it into a twisted, bizarro mockery of the true Superman. Disgusted by Cheng's failure, Lex orders the creature destroyed. Bizarro escapes, however, and flies towards Metropolis. Sometime later, Bizarro arrives in town and begins demonstrating behavioral patterns similar to that of Superman. He assists a disabled ambulance and saves the blind Lucy Lane from committing suicide. He then steals a cheap business suit and attempts to walk to the Daily Planet as if he were one of their employees. Clark Kent notices the strange creature and quickly changes into Superman. The two begin fighting on the streets of Metropolis until Lois Lane arrives to witness the destruction. Bizarro shares many personality traits with Superman, including a fondness for Lois Lane. He leaves Superman alone and whisks Lois away in his arms. He flies her to Lois's apartment and meets Lucy for a second time. Superman recovers from Bizarro's recent attack and discovers that his foe's skin secretes a chalky white residue. Analyzing the dust with his microscopic vision, Superman learns that Bizarro is in fact an android. What? Were they trying to clone him? How is he an android all of a sudden?
I took it like a synthetic person.
Yeah, like
he gives a whole
something. Yeah,
because he gives a whole. Like, he's more like an android. Like he has a whole explanation.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is not the word that I would be using.
Well, he looks at his cells. He's like, yeah, it's like an unliving mocker. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He tracks his
Yeah. Android's a different thing, Clark.
Yeah. He tracks his adversary back to Lois's apartment, and the two foes begin fighting once again. They fly directly towards one another, but once they collide, Bizarro's body explodes into a cloud of white dust. The dust comes into contact with Lucy and miraculously completely restores her eyesight. Damn. The 80s was all about white powder curing everything.
Everyone loves cocaine.
Yes, it was.
There may have been some involved in the making of this issue. Who knows?
Oh, jeez. But yeah, this. All right, so how does everyone feel that Bizarro was like basically a Lex Luthor experiment instead of like a whole Bizarro world? Which I get because I get like Byrne himself, but a lot of like DC at this point, they were trying to like make it more a little realistic. Like Superman's not literally juggling planets. Wally West is running at the speed of sound at this point. So
right. Yeah.
I like this I like Bizarro being more of the failed clone than being a whole Bizarro world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there's merit in both, but it comes down to like the tone of what you're trying to do. And in this, where we're trying to reboot it, you're trying to take it out of the Silver Age and basically make it modern. So you're kind of like patting down some of the sci-fi elements, it seems like so far. And I know where stuff goes, but I'm talking about if I'm just reading this. So the idea that it's a failed clone makes a little bit more sense. I mean, this is 86, right? So
yeah,
I'm thinking of what we've had. Like when he says android and synthetic, I'm thinking like Ash from Alien,
right?
And Aliens, that's where my brain went. So it was Ash, and then who was it was it Bishop?
Bishop,
yeah. Tangent. But I feel like I like the failed clone aspect. I do think it's interesting how early in the story this appears. Because I just actually got a really cool Superman story idea in my head as we were reading this. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I do think it's an interesting. Like I think this is one of my favorite issues of the 6, because I think there's more to this with the idea of like, not to be too modern, but like, we've had stem cell research and all this about regrowth.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea, like at the end where he explodes, or something in his composition that stimulates fixing cells. I mean, how much medical cure is right there in Bizarro and whatever Lex was doing,
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot more here than we get to explore. We do see.
Well, again, I think that's the Lex. That's the Lex of this era. It's like, yeah, how much money could he make and how much good could he do? Just churning out Bizarro DNA to like cure stuff, but instead he's just like, no, you disrespected me. You will respect my authority.
Right. Yeah, he's got to prove a point. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I liked it too. I liked the aspect of him being a clone. I didn't at first, but now I do. Yeah, I think it makes more sense now. I was surprised that he kind of disappeared at the end of this issue. It just exploded into dust, and that was it. But I thought, I'm sure he'll be back at some point.
Yeah, we kind of sort of get him back like after the death of Superman. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's another like 5-issue thing, or I think it's 5-ish, something like that.
Some of these panels in here too, Bizarro. He kind of looks like Iggy Pop.
Let's see. But I mean, the issue starts with the Lexo suit, and it's not even Lex wearing the battle armor.
I know. You just see the suit from behind. So yeah, like I said, it almost looks like a pre-crisis like panel there.
It's a perfect replica of that suit. Yeah.
And then Lex just explained like, oh, he was fired weeks ago. All those parts were, reported missing.
Yeah.
And he must not have known that wearing the suit for more than an hour creates psychosis and brain damage, So you're definitely seeing Lex playing out things that Superman's like, I can't pin this on him. And that's the Lex that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah. The master manipulator. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best. When people ask, like, I had a friend of mine, we talk all the time, comics and stuff, and he asked me, he said, oh, I didn't know that, Two-Face is your favorite Batman villain. I'm like, yeah. He's like, mine's lame. It's the Joker. He's like, well, what's your favorite Superman villain? I was like, mine's lame. It's Lex. Because of stuff like this, I think is what makes Lex such the great villain, is because to so many people, they don't see Lex as a villain. They don't see who he really is.
Again, I think this era like really fleshed him out, because before this, post-crisis, it's basically like, oh, Lex shows up, pulls some wacky scheme, Superman drops him in jail or something by the end of the issue, and it's like, I'll get you next time.
Right.
Here, like you said, is they show the genius of Lex, where it's like Superman's like, I know he's up to stuff, but I can't pin it on him yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we get the whole breakdown here about the clone coming out of its casket, his golden coffin. Was anyone else just really felt like you missed something when all of a sudden Lucy shows up and she's blind?
Yeah. I did.
I think they cover this later. What is it? The World of Metropolis miniseries or something?
See, is that what it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think.
I have that too. Like I got those.
I think, yeah.
I feel like I need to read those.
Yeah, you know what? We might have to do. We have to do this at some point. Maybe, like I said, for one of those like big anniversary episodes. But yeah, I think they did like they waited a little bit, I think, and then they released it's like World of Krypton, World of Smallville, World of Metropolis. Yeah,
yeah. They're all kind of in the same vein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just picked one issue up. What was it? World of Metropolis recently? I think it was like issue 3 or something. And it was like, it went into like when Clark was like hanging in Metropolis before he like catches the shuttle and stuff. And like,
so it almost feels like they should be collected in like,
yeah,
like they're the insert pieces or something. I don't know. Like,
they should do like a big collection of those and Man of Steel.
Yeah, it should be like you read Man of Steel 1, then like Metropolis 1, and then like where they fit. So maybe. I don't know. I might have to do that. Just read those.
Up pages in it, like each issue. Yeah, just
that would be cool.
Yeah, because it was like Clark was going to like starting college, and he needed a job, so he starts working in this diner, and then like this. I don't think she's that much older than him, but this woman he works with is like flirting with him and stuff. Nothing comes of it at the end. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with her and her husband and the kids and stuff." But
Yeah, I'll have to read that World of Metropolis. I don't think I've ever read that one.
Like I said, I think I really read that one issue I picked up not too long ago, but yeah, because
I have them.
I
had them. I bought them years ago at the quarter sales, and
I think they might even be on the app. So
probably, I feel like a lot of the stuff from the 80s, the 90s are. But there's still some stuff missing, but
yeah, they're getting there. They're getting there.
Yeah, it gets me when that like all the current stuff's on the app, and like some of them in the 80s and 90s, and I'm talking to you DC and Marvel, and it's like some of the 80s. I'm like, it's easier to find the more current stuff, especially when they trade it, put everything in trade now. And if you go to a back issue bin, sorry to rub it in, Ray, that you could probably find some of these stuff in the last like 5-10 years. But yeah, sometimes the 80s and 90s stuff's harder to find.
Yeah, the Worlds of Metropolis on there. I have number 1. I know that for a fact with Perry on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, it was. How many issues was that? 4?
I think it's 4. I think they each might be 4. Yeah, there's like 3 different miniseries. I think they're all 4 issues. I think.
Suicide Watch. Wow. Yeah, I've got to read this. Yeah. The one with Jimmy Olsen is Suicide Watch. Yeesh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said,
that escalated quickly.
We'll have to drop that in at some point. I just wanted to
we do, because I didn't even know they did the World of Smallville.
Yeah.
These are in 88. I'm adding them all to my to read collection. I've done the World of Krypton because we looked at that when the new World of Krypton miniseries came out, and of course when the TV show is coming out. So I did that one. But yeah, okay, cool. Well, back to issue 5 here.
Yes. Yeah, any other thoughts, or should we get to the last issue?
Well, I just think it's interesting that Lucy basically tries to commit suicide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like she jumps to kill herself. And I was like, wow. And then, Bizarro saves her, and she can't tell that it's Bizarro.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Clark looking all like with his slicker backer hair, finally.
Yeah.
And then we have that, like you said, that really weird shot of Bizarro wearing the half, suit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's important with this is when Superman, states that this is the first time he's ever fought anybody as powerful as him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always pulled my punches. He's like, now I need to, reassess how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the big takeaway, I think. But yeah, number 6.
I was gonna say because I mean, even look at this series. I mean, he really hasn't fought anyone with superpowers yet.
Yeah.
Until Bizarro.
Yeah.
All right. The Man of Steel number 6, December 1986. The Haunting. Clark returned to Smallville after a long time away. His adopted parents pick him up. Jonathan Kent is about to tell him something, but Martha shushes him. Later that night, Clark cannot sleep as he wonders what his father was about to tell him. When he goes for a midnight snack, a ghost of Jor-El surprises him and touches him. Superman discovers himself to be on an alien planet where he encounters his biological mother, Lyra. As the hallucination wears off, he is face to face with his old flame, Lana Lang. In a flashback, it turns out that on the night that Clark learned his heritage, he went to Lana and revealed the truth of his powers to her. She confesses her feelings to him. She realizes that Clark can no longer belong to her, that he belongs to the world, and this fact had hurt her. She had gone through a period of depression and finally accepts the fact. The next day, Superman thinks about what she said and starts wondering about where he truly came from. He goes to the location where Jonathan hid the rocket ship he was found in, only to find the ship is gone. Where did it go? Tune in next episode, kids. The hologram of Jor-El reappears and tells him to be silent and to learn. It appears that Superman is under some kind of psionic attack, but the Kents arrive in time and Jonathan breaks it off by attacking the Jor-El hologram with a shovel. Superman flies away, realizing that it was not a mental attack, but a download of knowledge of everything about Krypton into his brain. He finally knows his biological parents and where he came from, and though he appreciates the knowledge he has been given, in the end, he embraces his humanity even more. Yeah, because like in the first issue, like they knew he came from a rocket ship, but at certain points, they were like, oh, was it the Russians or was it somebody on Earth? Now he's like, yeah, there's no getting around it. I'm not a mutant. I'm not a science experiment. I'm an alien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. From another world.
Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with Lon is weird. It's like, okay, so she was his best friend, I guess, but it's like, okay, this isn't the woman you want to spend the rest of your life with, but you're going to reveal all this, you're going to drop all this on her and then just be like, oh, hi.
You're in the friend zone, Lana. Yeah.
Hey, I can fly. Peace.
I'm going to trust you not to reveal this. Okay, bye.
Yeah. I know. That was so funny.
I think, even that part with her is like, that's a whole issue's worth of story to mine, of just
definitely. Yeah.
Like I said, it's not like it was after graduation, like he just leaves in the middle of a school year.
Mm-hmm.
And now like I said, I'm actually more interested in, and maybe if I get time, I'll try to read these Tales of Smallville, Tales of Metropolis books, because maybe I'll come back to this with a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I feel better about this. But it just shows he wasn't even trying to be selfish, and he just made a choice to tell her and reveal something to her because he trusted her, but how that hurt her.
Mm-hmm.
Because like she said, like that moment, like she couldn't just have the ordinary kids and the ordinary life with him. And I kind of have hoped that at this issue, like, how she told like the house had fallen into disrepair, that he just like super speed over there and like fix it. And she'd wake up the next morning and like it would be like pristine.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sending them mixed signals. Yeah.
Probably. So, but it is a nice, because like her haunting words stay with him about because one of the things in this issue is he's talking to his mom and pa about Lois, and she's like, how could you just belong to one woman when all this? So like he has this rolling around in his head of where he's wanting to go with Lois, and can he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the time jumps from the night he learned. Pa Kent reveals the truth. Shows him the ship and everything until the end of issue 6. That's 10 years. So he's an old man at 28 now, kids.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's just a huge chunk of time.
Yeah,
and we're just like getting these highlight sections, and the last panel is that classic shot of him holding the cape, but like the line. But I was born when the rocket opened on Earth, in America.
In America.
You could hear the song. You could hear it. I'm proud to be an American, at least I know. Yeah.
It is 86, so it had a whole different tone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, there's yeah. We're still doing the Pledge of Allegiance at every event, and it's like we're the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, it was a different era. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I like this issue though. I thought it was a good conclusion to the miniseries. I thought it was a good way to wrap it up. It showed a different dimension to Superman, and it was a nice way too for him to know more about his history and where he came from.
Yes.
By having the hologram touch him and impart all of that information, all of that knowledge about Krypton and about his past and his parents and stuff, it was kind of a nice way just to do some hand waving with that and have him have that knowledge without having to go through this big whole ordeal and all of this other stuff to obtain it. I liked that. I thought it was clever.
It is a nice capper because you kind of go back, like we started on Smallville. We end, back in Smallville.
Full circle. Totally.
We met Lana. We have another run in with Lana. But my thing is, my biggest takeaway is like I just feel like there's so much story I'm not getting. This is like a Cliff Notes highlight version,
right?
Of this story, and I don't know. It'll be interesting moving forward about how things progress. So.
Yeah, I think the continuity will be better going forward, because I think that, especially with when the self-titled Superman series starts, I think that
Oh yeah.
there's no real time lapses that take place. It's all pretty linear, I think.
Yeah, no, we'll get to the it starts in the present, and yeah, it does. We really don't do time jumps.
Yeah.
All right, I think I found the perfect spot. In November, there's a third week, so I had us down for 3 episodes in November. I think guys want to do those miniseries in November.
Sure.
The World of Metropolis, World of Krypton, World of Smallville, and up.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do those.
So yeah, that seems like a good opportunity. 3 miniseries, a 3 episode month. Yeah,
that'd be perfect.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So, anything else you boys want to talk about Man of Steel?
I do think it's so interesting when people will always reference it back and hold it at this high esteem.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I don't hold it at this high esteem because I feel like it's just so much surface. It's just like this quick stuff. Like I'm not getting emotionally in depth and invested in this version yet, because I feel like I'm just getting glimpses and snippets of everything. I'm not getting a chance to really see the character evolve. And now I'm saying all this because I want to, when we get to those, because I'll probably go ahead and read them now and then we'll talk about them later just for background. Like maybe I'll have a different perspective, feeling like I got those stories that I was missing in that development from the world of Smallville, the world of Krypton, and the world of Metropolis. But right now, I feel like it's just this quick highlight book. Like, this is what new Superman is. Here's some of the high points. Boom, we're going to go. So when people are like, oh, what they did in Man of Steel, I'm like, well, what I think about is he wasn't born on Krypton. Clark was a cool dude in high school. He played football, and then they go into the costume and, how he appeared. And even then, like, we don't exactly get, like, his first appearance in Metropolis. So I feel like a lot of these big moments were just kind of, that story. We're going to keep moving on, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those 3 miniseries came not too much later, but they came a little bit after this. So I wonder if there might have been like demand for like, oh, hey, yeah, you guys just really hit like these broad high points. Can we get a little more substance? Fill in some of these blanks. Maybe that people were clamoring for it. Writing those letters in, and they're just like, okay.
It's possible too. Yeah, I wonder what the letters page was like back then. I kind of view this miniseries as like an introduction to Superman for someone who maybe is completely unfamiliar with the character. Like, I mean, all 3 of us are pretty big fans of Superman, of course, but people that aren't that familiar with the character, I think this miniseries would appeal to them a lot. Because despite the time jumps and stuff, they'd be like, "Oh, cool, Lex Luthor! Oh, cool, Bizarro! Like, there's a weird alien Superman." Like, somebody that was completely unfamiliar with Superman, I think that this would be a total success for them. For me, though, I think the biggest appeal is the artwork. I think it looks still looks amazing. It was some of the best looking Superman ever. So for me, that's why I go back and read and enjoy this, is the artwork. But as far as it being like a monumental miniseries or something that's indispensable, I don't really think so.
I mean, I think too, at the time, again, we get them all the time these days, but it's like they weren't rebooting every 2 seconds before. So this was something different. And this was so different than anything Superman that came before. I think that was, I don't want to say the shock, but just like the newness of it and the different, the more kind of grounded take almost of it that, people just like, oh, this is like more adult. This isn't like,
Yeah, I mean that like I said, that goes back to the reboot nature of just doing something different. And I think there's nothing wrong with it. It's just there's little elements, like I said, that I'm just kind of like, okay, I can go with, and things I'm like, it's not really my favorite aspects of the character.
Like going in order like this, pretty much. Like it's going to be fun to see the evolution of some of this stuff. Like,
Yeah,
we're going to get a Supergirl, a version of Supergirl, a version of Superboy, and stuff like that.
Matrix.
And like how
Matrix.
long, and how long it takes to like, well, I mean, we would have to wait to the 2000s, but eventually you do get a Kryptonian Supergirl again, and
and Maxima, one of my favorites.
Maxima!
I love Maxima. Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, when we get to the 90s, if you guys, I mean, we can always include like the Superboy series,
Steel.
Yeah. I mean,
it'll just the 90s will be so. It'll almost be like we'll each have to pick a series, read a chunk, and then summarize it to each other because there's just so much.
Yeah,
you get the 4 Superman titles, and you just get a lot going on.
I almost feel like once we get to that point, if we're still doing 2 episodes a month, it'll be like, okay, 1 week will be the 4 Superman books for that month, and then the other episode will be, oh hey, the Superboy Steel. If we have a Supergirl book, through those issues.
And for a while, weren't there 5 Superman books? The Man of Tomorrow, I think.
Well, that's they're those pesky skip weeks since there's
that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, so that was like once a quarter, but still, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Annuals and
so many. Yeah. We'll be busy for a while covering all these books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and I hope you guys don't mind, but I kind of feel like we kind of need to skip Action Comics Weekly.
Oh yeah. No. What the ones where he was in space?
No. It was like the one. It was like from 601 to 642, where it's like it was weekly for the 50th, his 50th anniversary, but it was like he was only one of the stories in it. They had like a bunch of short stories in it.
Oh, I think it was a different character for the lead. Yeah, I do remember those.
Well, I think Superman was always the lead, but you'd have like a Green Lantern story, and then like sometimes you might I know there was 2 different times there was like a Nightwing and Roy Harper story, and then
I always love it when publishers are like, oh, we want to get to a milestone issue. Quick, let's put the book out weekly. Then we'll go back to a monthly once we hit that number.
Well, I think it was for the 50th anniversary. Yeah, I've read stories where I think Mark Waid was one of the editors on that book, and it's like, oh yeah, we'd be there on a Friday night, just working to the last minute to get it down to the deadline and stuff. Because again, you had all these different stories in each issue, and I think each was written by a different writer, so you had to get stuff from here, stuff from here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe we'll just skip those. But even in that era, if we skip those action issues, we're still going to have Superman and Adventures of Superman. So
yeah, definitely.
All right. So, but next episode, we're going to cover. We're going to jump to the present. Superman
Future past.
Yes, Superman #1. Adventures of Superman 424 and Action Comics 584, guest starring some of the Teen Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
And two of those 3 by Byrne himself. So yeah,
it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, and then the Adventures, which isn't Byrne, is I think Marv Wolfman writing it, and was it Ordway drawing that at that point? I think.
I think so, or he was just about to.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I was looking at some of it yesterday. I was just pulling it up and looking at the app, what was there and stuff. So I'm not too far off from.
Because speaking of the whole American iconography, Adventures 424, he's holding an eagle on his arm or something.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
I love it.
All right, so yeah, I mean, we're going to turn that one around pretty quick, kids. But I mean, again, you can send your thoughts on Man of Steel, on those. Anytime. Send your thoughts, even if we already covered them. We'll talk them. Email us, CapesandLunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And remember, you can find all things Capes and Lunatics, episodes, social media, merchandise. The Patreon, again, if you subscribe right now, you can hear Lil Hellfire's drunken rants on the 90s Heroes Reborn stuff, the Marvel stuff. So, yeah, it's worth the price of admission. So, find everything at tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. That's tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. All right, I'm going to do Tyler's plugs first because Justin has a ton of them. All right, Tyler. If people can't get enough of you talking Superman here, where can they hear you talk more? With Mr. James Cole. I want to get Mr. James Cole.
We have to. We start. Okay, when we get to the 4 books, we got to bring James on. That way, each of us.
I said we have to get it. Yeah, we are going to get him on at least. Cuts sometimes. Yeah.
James and I host the Krypton Report, where we talk all things Superman, DC, just in general. So you can find us anywhere and everywhere at Krypton Report.
Chuck Norris quivers at the presence of Mr. James Cole.
He does. One day, James was having a bad day, so I just looked up a bunch of Chuck Norris facts and just took out Chuck Norris and put James Cole and started sending him one. And I just want to give him a shout out because he's on Twitter. He's at Superman Red KR. Today is his birthday. So
happy
birthday, James.
Birthday. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Find us on Krypton Report. We talk it up. Our next episode is coming up soon. We'll be talking McFarlane figure wish list. All this McFarlane news after San Diego. We've been planning this. We're going to have some guests on, and we're going to talk about what figures we'd like to see McFarlane make.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, they finally, me and Will were talking about, they're putting out, I think it's a John Stewart Green Lantern figure, but the energy constructs glow in the dark. We're like, why didn't anyone figure this out for the last 20, 30 years?
I know. Yeah. That's so awesome.
They've had this technology, you know?
Yeah.
Glow in the dark.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. There's certain things I'm just like, what?
Kryptonite? I mean, yeah, glow in the dark kryptonite.
Yeah.
So much good stuff. All right. Now for one of the busiest men in podcasting, Mr. Justin the Owl. All right. So he'll be here every 2 weeks. He joins me the last episode of every month on We Are the Night, the Batman podcast. Because Lil's too good to do Night Quest. Talk Azrael. So yes, that's on this feed. And then over on Capes and Lunatics, he joins me every week on Marvel Tales as we talk about Marvel every week. And we're doing the middle of some of these 90s summer annuals right now. And coming up, we're going to be doing 2 different crossovers with his other show that he does with Russell, Gamma Charge. Take it away.
Gamma Charge. Yeah, the strongest podcast there is, where we talk about everything to do with the Hulk and the She-Hulk twice a month. We also have a Patreon page, so check that out if you're so inclined. We have bonus episodes over there. And Russell and I also co-host another show with our pal Ray, Predator and Prey, a Yocha podcast where we talk about everything to do with Fox's Predator in both comic books, video games, action figures, everything. Russell and I also relaunching one of our old podcasts, but I'm going to wait till that episode is ready to give everybody. We've just recorded, and I don't think it's quite ready yet, so I'm going to wait until it's done to give everybody the deets on that. But my last project, The Lost Library of Legends, is almost ready after a year and a half of waiting. It's finally almost done. I had to get some artwork ready for the social medias, but it is almost done, so I'm very happy about that.
And speaking of that Predator podcast, good show. But hey, Ray, when are we going to do that Batman Predator crossover already?
Well, we're talking about possibly making that show also bi-monthly, every other week. So we'll be able to cover a lot more content when we do that. So
yeah, Mr. I'm more busy. You find the right subject. He always becomes unbusy.
Batman, favorite character.
Like I said, anyone looking to start a Tigra or Hercules or Madrox the Multiple Man podcast, yeah, Ray will become unbusy if you start that podcast.
Well, that escalated. Tapping my way downtown.
All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and thank you, boys, for volunteering to do this with me again. I had the name, and I was just like, I have to make this reality.
I love it.
Then I started reading that 90s Superman stuff, and I was just like, yes, I have to make this happen.
Yes. I'm excited. I'm excited to cover all this classic stuff.
Yes. So next episode, we'll be back with those 3 Superman issues, and then Kristen will be back the next 2 weeks after that. Talk some more Nightwing. Yeah, Will heard the name. Will's like, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I shared the name with James. He was like, that's awesome.
You see Electric Mullet and Superman in the title. You know what Aaron is.
You do.
All right, kids. Keep it truth, justice, and the podcast way. Good night.